The Cherry Silver Benefit Home Show, April 7th and 8th, benefiting the UNM Children's Hospital, Popejoy Hall, and Anderson School of Management. See exhibitors feature windows, doors, kitchen, bath, sunroom, stucco. The Cherry Silver Benefit Home Show at Dreamstyle Arena, The Pit.
Nothing completes a trip downtown like a visit to Lindy's Cafe. You won't find a more relaxing restaurant to unwind at. Located on 5th and Central, proud supporters of Proview Networks, Lindy's strives to be a friendly and welcoming place.
Lindy's, a great place to be seen.
Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean.
I want to congratulate our first customers at our brand new facility right here at Gala Chevrolet, the Jose's. And how was your experience?
It was awesome and great.
What'd you end up buying?
We bought a 2018 Chevy Silverado.
And how would you say the experience was overall?
I bought all my cars here at Gala Chevrolet, and we couldn't wait for the new facility open, and all the people really treated us well.
Well, on behalf of Gala Chevrolet, we say thank you, and we'll see you soon right here at Gala Chevrolet.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And welcome everybody here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. We're glad to have you along here this week. Alden Iowani, our fine director, as always. Going to talk a lot of sports here. Have another special guest here with the same name as the guest that we had last week. Only difference is last week we had Ira Harge Jr. This week we have Ira Harge. I don't know if I want to call you senior, but how you doing, sir?
I am a senior, so that's all whichever.
Okay.
Whatever makes it good.
Well, we'll go by whatever you want to go by because
well, all my life I've just been Ira, so.
There you go. Well, first off, welcome to the program, and you've got a long history here in New Mexico, University of New Mexico. Obviously, you played in the ABA and played with a lot of great players. We'll get into that more with Ed and I here in a little bit. But first off, what have you been doing with yourself?
Well, I was a teacher and a restaurant owner, and I sold cars for the last 33 years or so.
So what's that been like for you?
Which does that, the selling the cars? Well, yeah. It's a way to make a living. One of the good things about it was you could always have a new car, so
right.
I like that.
Well, that's always a good perk,
yeah.
I guess. You know, how much do you keep up, and we'll get into this a little more later, too, as we'll have you for a couple of segments. How much do you keep up with UNM?
Well, quite a bit. Once a year they invite us down, all the alumni basketball players, and I try to see 1 or 2 games a year. My problem at UNM is getting up and down those stairs.
Yeah.
You know, and as I age, it becomes more difficult. So I see as much as I can, and I watch them on television quite a bit.
I wanted to ask you, you were here, you came at a time when Coach Bob King built the architect of UNM basketball. You know, he really built the program, and I was too young to really watch some of that then. But You've seen a lot of Lobo basketball throughout the years. You've seen the the construction of the pit, which Coach King and his program. You guys went to New York and lost in the NIT in '63 and '64, I believe, and the crowd that came back to greet you at the airport was phenomenal, and that started probably the love of Lobo basketball way back in the day. What's your opinion? Again, you said you've seen the Lobos a couple of times this year of Coach Weir. So far, what you've seen of him and his program, and it's only 1 year. I thought they played much better than people thought. I think he's an excellent coach. But what's your opinion?
Well, I think he's a pretty good coach too. I have not seen when he was at State. I didn't watch State, so. But what I've seen, I enjoy. I think he needs a couple more big guys. Bob King said to me this one time, he quoted Adolph Rupp. He said, Adolph Rupp said that the bigger the players, the more horses you have. The bigger the players, the better your prayers work. So this is what I think Weir needs to get some big players, some bigger horses. He needs some Clydesdales instead of the thoroughbreds.
That's well put. I got to ask you this, Ira. The game, as we've seen, has changed.
Yes.
It's changed. Now, back in the day, it was they had great big men here, yourself, Mel Daniels, Willie Howard. There's been some, Paul Cruzy was a big guy a long time ago, didn't play that much. Luke Longley, Kenny Thomas. Ira, your opinion about where the game has changed, and my son and I talk about it all the time. My son coached at St. Pius for 3 years, and it's a perimeter-based game now. Now, and it's really changed. Down from AYBL, the youth league, to the pros, to college, everyone wants to shoot that three now. And it's changed so much. And as a guy that led the ABA in rebounding, and there's some guys I'll ask you about later. I mean, the ABA back in the day, people may forget, was one heck of a league. It really was. But as a guy that spent all those time in the trenches, and it was a man's game then, Ira, and it was. What's your opinion of where the game is now as far as all that change inside and outside now? It's more of a perimeter-driven game now.
Well, I think it's become, you said perimeter, I think it's become more of a small man's game where the guys, small men, LeBron and Magic and Bird, these guys are all 6'9", but they shoot, they negate the big guys, the 7'3" and 280 pounds, 300 pounds, like Shaquille O'Neal, Dr. Thunder over in Pittsburgh, Wilt Chamberlain. They brought the game out. The game used to be inside, out.
Right.
And now it's inside, if it gets there, and it's just around there.
Right.
I have grandkids, and got a couple granddaughters up in Las Vegas. And the thing they want to do is shoot the three-pointer. And I tell them and the coaches and my sons, just throw the ball inside, make them drop back, and then bring the ball outside for the three. They're doing just the opposite of what I would do. But I think Weir's doing a good job. As a matter of fact, I got a grandson that we're trying to promote. He would like to have him come. He's a 6'8" senior, 235 pounds.
Nice. I mentioned him on the show the last time.
Oh, did you? John Harge?
Right.
Yes.
That would be nice. Ira Harge, our guest here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Colletti along with Ed Nunez. And Ira, you were a double-double guy at UNM back before the double-double was even mentioned or in vogue or a popular stat. What are some of your fond memories of UNM?
I'll tell you some of my fond ones and some of the worst ones.
Not so fun.
Yeah, was the the best memory I have is when we came back from the NIT, and we had lost, and we were all discouraged, and we flew from New York to St. Louis, and they held us in St. Louis for a couple hours because they were having a dust storm. This was in March of '62. Mm-hmm. And so finally they told us we could leave, but then when we got to Albuquerque, they told us we might have to go to Phoenix because the airport was not fogged in, was dust in. We have these dust storms, and they flew around, they circled the airport a couple times. Finally, we got a spot to land, an open spot, and they allowed us to land. And we got off the plane, and this is when Yale used to go right into the airport. And we got off the plane, and it was just dust storms. I mean, I could barely see. Had dust, sand in my eyes. I wore contacts then, and I heard all this noise. And I thought, what the heck is that? And it was the people standing out there at the airplane. And then we had a little parade down to Yale, to Central, and then into Johnson Gym. And we went in, we were going to unload our stuff and go to our rooms. And then there were 3,500 people there in the pit. And we had that, and that was probably the most memorable thing I've ever thought about it here. Because all the things, the delay, the sand, and the people lined up and down Yale Street. Then you get to the pit and you see all these people. But some of the worst things, that was one of the best things. Some of the worst things that was some of the name calling when we go to places like BYU, and I hate them still, Texas Tech, Arizona State, not Arizona, because they beat us over there twice. And it's one other place I can't remember, but just the name calling. But this was back in the 60s. I'm not excusing it. It happened, and I talk about it every chance I get. But I hope the guys, young guys now, never experience anything like that. I'm sure they do.
It's funny, Ira. Sometimes they say times have changed, and sometimes history repeats itself. And you know what? You and your team at that time were trailblazers in a lot of different ways, and maybe you didn't know it at the time. But when you talk about that memory, and I was 2 years old, but when you talk about that memory, it almost brings tears in my eyes, man, because I can see it. This town here, and you know this, Ira, you've lived here you've made Albuquerque your home. This town is in love with Lobo basketball, man. And when it's a love affair, and this is what I say about Coach Weir. I love Coach Weir. We had him on the sports desk 10 months ago. A very good man, and we think he's a good coach. Now, all of a sudden, he's got two guys waiting on the bench that are transfers and expectations. They're nice now. People are like, Coach Weir, Coach Weir. Now, if things, for whatever reason, go south, then all of a sudden the town just turns on. And it does. It turned on Dave Bliss. It turned on, Norm got out. And Norm got out at a time where, he probably would have stayed around if that hadn't happened. Lobo, he's still one of the most beloved coaches in Lobo history. Still is, as is Coach King. But there's one thing in this town. It's Lobo basketball, and everything else is miles in the distance. So when you mention that memory of the airport and the sandstorm, gosh, and people still came out to see that, 2,500 to 100 to 3,000 people. What does that tell you about the people's love affair with Lobo basketball?
Well, it tells me that they love basketball here. But I'll tell you something that Bob King told me as I graduated. He said, Ira, he said, if I'm lucky, if I'm successful here in New Mexico, he said, that they'll run me out of town. And I said, what do you mean, Coach? He says, well, the more you do, the more successful you are, the more criticizing the fan. And one other thing, one of the other coaches, George Petro told me, he says, Ira, we were in a class, he said, if you live on what you did yesterday, you haven't done a damn thing today. So you have to keep improving upon what you do. And this with Weir, he's going to have to improve on what he's done. Right. And he's going to have to go get those big guys, because you come in here like San Diego State, this freshman is 7'1" or 6'10".
Yeah.
I don't.
Cameron Rooks.
Yeah, and you look at the March Madness. You look at all these guys that are inside, and I'm surprised that we didn't think of this when I played. Was passing the ball over the rim and the guys grabbing it and dunking. I mean, there weren't a lot of us that could do it. Fortunately, I was one, but they never did it. Yeah, so what. I wish for Weir that he find a 7-footer. I'll tell you one other thing that I didn't like about the UNM. We had a coach here whose dad I played with, Richie McKay, and his dad was Joe McKay, and we were good friends until his death. And I was on a plane going from Albuquerque, coming from Detroit to Albuquerque, and I was sitting next to this gentleman, and he said to me, where are you going? I told him I was going to Albuquerque. He said, you live there? I said, yeah. He said, well, I got this kid. He was in Wichita, Kansas. He said, a 7'2" or 7'3" kid at 275, 285 that's looking for a place to go. And I said, well, give me his name, and I don't have it now. So I know the coach. I'll go talk to the coach. So I went and talked to Richie McKay, and I told him who the kid was, and he said, well, I know who this kid is. He said, but we can't afford, this was his second year, right after his first year. He said, we cannot afford to wait on a kid that's, to develop. And I said, well, Richie, you can't coach 7'2". I said, he has to grow to it. And this is what I say to Rich, Weir. You got to go and find the big guys to make the prayers work better.
There you go. We will take a break. One more segment with Ira Harge in just a moment. On the Sports Desk, first, the top 10 plays of the week by Dream Style Remodeling.
Flags are going to fly here. And wide open, making the catch and standing the end zone is Dello Davis. Well, what's going to be the call? Is this going to be a tough? And it's returnable. Edwards makes a move and another move to the outside. Uh-oh, look out. He puts on the Jets in a 50-yard.
The first base side. Oh, what a play turned in by Jackson. Great play by Jackson.
Dello Davis are in motion. Dello Davis going to get the carry out of motion. And look out, here comes Dello Davis. He's through. Davis all the way.
Got a little bit of breeze out towards right field. That's hitting the gap to right center field. Right fielder coming on. What a great catch turned in by Schober.
There's Wichita, the kick. Here's Bray. A little stutter. Look out. Antonio Bray's got to move to the outside, and it's all wheels from there. He's going to take it.
Runner's going to go.
Oh, here he's going. Watch out
Here
at
comes
home.
the play as the play. Throws in time. Got it.
Them the day that Parker's pitching.
That's lifted back this way. The catcher,
Rendon
coming back and
what
makes
a
the catch. Great catch by Rendon. Up the middle. They're waving him around. It gets by. Here comes a winning run. Connor Langwell scores a winning run off the bat of Garrett Langwell. Clovis is going to win it 3-2. RBI single for Garrett Langwell, Tom.
Right next to him. Bray gets the carry. What a spin move. And look out. He puts on the Jets, Antonio Bray. One for the highlights.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or DreamStyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet, our ultimate goal is to make life easier for you. That's why we built our new ultra-modern facility from the ground up with the customer in mind. With 1,000 vehicles in stock, a great variety of pre-owned vehicles of every make and model, a clean, state-of-the-art service department focused on getting you back on the road as quickly as possible, and a sales team devoted to 100% customer satisfaction. All conveniently located in the heart of Albuquerque. We'll see you soon, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
The Barley Brew, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
And welcome back here to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez, the man on my right, a UNM and New Mexico legend, Ira Hartz Sr. And we had Ira Hartz Jr. last week. And one of the things last year, Coach, and I brought it up in your son's interview a week ago, is last year he's playing, his team is playing, and it's years since Pecos had won the championship. I saw you at halftime. And we talked a little bit, and you actually told me you were nervous. Now, you're not known for being a nervous guy, but off the air you kind of said nervous for your son. But that was kind of cool. You made it through, and then you were very happy saying we did it after the game and everything. And what was that like for you the first time last year, and what was it like for his team repeating this year?
Well, let me put it this way. I remember when he was born. Mm-hmm. And how elated and fascinated I was. And that game, to see him coach and be the one that I thought would never coach in the family, win a championship. I was as happy and giddy as the kids were. I was really happy for him, and it was just to see him go and do this, which he had never done and never showed an inclination to.
Now, one of the things he mentioned last week was that he learned a lot from his brother and kind of carried that over. How much did he learn from you?
Well, he
knowingly
he learned that he didn't want to. He would rather watch television than get up and run. And what I tried to do.
Isn't that everyone though?
I tried to get him and his brother and his sister to get in shape before the season started. And this is something I used to do when I could run. Mm-hmm. But we have a hill. I don't know if you know where Trisco is and Central. We have the street is on an incline up, and we would always run down the hill when La Bajada would run down the hill, and then we'd run up the hill, and they hated it. And I know he learned that. But one of the things he said he did, or he's doing, is that the kids in Pecos, he have them run cross country, and I hated cross country. But what this did was it got the kids to be in shape, and they could run. Mm-hmm. You know, you run cross country. I don't know what they're running. The time are now, but they'd run all day. You know, it seems like all day when you're running cross country.
Right.
And you run up and down the hills. We used to run it over at the University Golf Course, up and down the greens and things. And he learned to condition the kids. And I tell him and everybody that I have a chance to say, get in shape if you're an athlete and stay in shape. And once your athletic days are over, stay in shape. So always stay in shape. And I hope he learned that.
Now, I know Ed has more specific questions he wants to ask you, but it's fascinating because both of us were growing up during the time of the ABA. Mm-hmm. In Los Angeles, they used to have the LA Stars before they moved to Utah. It was one of the situations where you watched the Lakers or you watched the LA Stars. And I was always intrigued by the different color basketball. And kind of, I want one of those balls, and kind of played, a street ball with an ABA ball. And what was it like playing in a league that was kind of the pioneer, the three-point line? Everything was kind of invented in the ABA.
Well, I'll correct you a little, Scott. That started in the ABL.
Okay, the ABL. Then that was before my time. Then okay.
Red, white, and blue balls. And one of the things they wanted with the ball, the multicolor ball, was that you can follow it easier with the stripes than you can with the plain brown ball. And then with the 3-point, they wanted something different from the NBA, which has now taken over everything. They have the 3-pointers. The girls play with the red, white, and blue balls. And they did that, but it was intriguing. And one of the things I always thought, it was easier to see the ball from your rebounding position perspective.
Interesting.
You see the ball, and it's easy to follow because sometimes you got all those hands up there. But if you see the red, white, and blue, you could grab it a lot easier.
What were the advantages, disadvantages? We'll talk ABA since I know more about that than the ABL, but I guess you can say both. What were some of the advantages and disadvantages of playing in those leagues, and how much was I didn't make it into the NBA kind of a factor back then?
Well, first of all, the ABL and ABA offered guys, I'll say marginal, but now these guys are not marginal, an opportunity to play professional basketball. But take someone like Connie Hawkins. He could not, the NBA would not allow him to play. So he played in the ABA. One of the, some of the big guys, Bridges.
Bill Bridges.
Bridges. He played in the ABL. I'm pretty sure. I might be misquoting it.
And of course, Julius Irving played in the ABA.
Connie Hawkins played.
George
McGinnis, George Irving, Artis Gilmore,
Dan Issel.
All these guys played in the ABA. But one of the things that guys don't report, the average person in the public don't realize is the ABA players made more money than NBA players.
Boy, that's interesting.
That's how it was in the women's league that I worked in, which was also the ABL. It was the American Basketball League about 15, 20 years ago. They had a team in Seattle, which I worked for, and it was overtaken by the WNBA, but that league paid more than the WNBA.
In 1967, Mel Daniels was drafted by number one by Cincinnati and Minnesota.
Royals.
And he came to me and he says, Ira, what would you do? He said, Cincinnati's offered me, I think, 9,000 or 10,000. And Minnesota offered him 11 or 12. And they're going to play the same amount of games. I said, Mel, you probably have more success going to the ABA rather than going to Cincinnati, because they got all these big guys you're going to have to fight with every night and wrestle. I said, and plus you get more money. I said, doesn't take a genius. You figure it out. So he went to the ABA.
Minnesota Muskies. I don't know what I wanted to ask you. You know, you started out your career with Pittsburgh Pipers, Oakland Oaks, Washington Capitals, Carolina Cougars, Miami Floridians, Utah Stars. Some of the guys you played with, Rick Barry, Connie Hawkins, Art Heyman, Joe Caldwell, Warren Jabali, Jim Eakins, former Lobo teammate, or Ron Nelson, former University of New Mexico star Ron Nelson, Matt Calvin, Willie Long played here at the University of New Mexico, Hall of Famer Zelmo Beatty, and Willie Wise. I had to ask you this, what kind of teammate was Rick Barry? Now Rick Barry's a Hall of Famer. But Rick Barry, you know, there's stories of, you know, that sometimes he could be a selfish teammate. His own teammates sometimes didn't like him. So what kind of teammate was he?
Well, I'll tell you a story about Rick Barry. We were in Los Angeles playing against the Stars. And this was one of our first games. The first year he wasn't able to play because he had a contract with San Francisco. But this was our first game together, or one of the first games. And the play was he's going to pass it to me in the hole and then cut off. And my options were to give him the ball back for a layup or work for a shot for myself. So Rick Barry passes the ball to me, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting on him to leave, and he brings his man so close that I have no alternative other than to pass the ball to him. So he stepped back a couple feet and I passed the ball. And then the next time that play, I said, "Oh, Rick," I said, "Rick, you can't do that." I said, "I'm supposed to be able to shoot once in a while." But he was I won't say selfish, but he was selfish.
He was a great player.
Yeah, he was a great player.
The rumors about him, even when they won the title in '75 and '76, the Golden State Warriors. I remember reading an article in Sport Magazine, which is defunct now, that Clifford Ray and some of his teammates had problems with him.
Oh, well, I never had a problem with him. I had a problem because of him. And what I'm saying is, he was, as you said, he thought a lot of himself, and he would tell the other guys, and they'd always want to fight him, and I had to protect him. So we.
Oh man, that's great stuff.
That's funny. Yeah.
I fought some of the guys who were friends and former teammates because of Rick Barry. I had to keep him off of him. Say, you guys can't beat up on my guy like this, you know. So.
I got a question. I got to ask you this too. Warren Jabali, the known enforcer in the league, he had, I read the ABA book, Loose Balls. I read that. And Warren Jabali had problems with his own teammates, problems with other teammates. What was Warren Jabali like?
Yeah, contrary to what you said, I never had a problem with it. He had a problem with off and on with Doug Moore or Larry Brown, but personally,
coaches, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, they were playing at that time.
Yeah. He had problems with them because this was the time when there was black and white and African American versus Negroes.
Right.
If you befriend a guy, a white guy, then they call you an apple or Oreo, or, things like that. The names they called it. And he was a young guy. He's just out of college, 21, 22 years old, and he hadn't become acculturated with the league and the play, and that you got to live with these guys, because these are guys that are going to help you make it or not. And so Warren was like that, but as he aged, he mellowed. And he was not a bad guy. He was really, up until the time he died, which was 4 years ago, we talked once, twice a year, and he would always tell me about the things that he learned from me, just being there. So you helped me with this. He had a girlfriend that he was having a problem with, and I kind of advised him on that. But he was a man. He was a
oh yes, yeah. that's what the accounts was in the book. That he got into several altercations on the floor, off the floor, things like that.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up playing in that era where, like you said, it was black and white, and you had to fit in? I can't even imagine how tough it was going through that. So explain how tough it was for you going through that.
I'll tell you, the first time I realized that there was a difference. In 1964, there were 4 black guys on UNM's team. Boo Ellis, Claude Williams, myself, and Jim Patterson. And we were playing, I think, the University of Wyoming. And we were trying to win this game. And Bob King, there were 3 of us out there on the floor, Claude Williams, Boo Ellis, and myself. And we were having trouble with Flynn Robinson.
Oh, man, I remember him.
Yeah, and so next thing I know, Bob King called Jim Patterson. Jim, get in there and take somebody. You know, so there were 4 black guys out there on the floor. That is 4, and all of a sudden, we're up and down the floor a couple times, and Sam Miranda's jerking on Bob's sleeve. Coach, look, well, there was unspoken rule or standard that you wouldn't have 4 black guys on the floor at one time. And then, 2 years later, UTEP, UTEP, University, we used to call it Texas Western University of El Paso, Texas, University of Texas at El Paso. They had 5, and they went on the floor at one time. They won the national championship.
National championship,
but
yep.
That's when I learned, or I was aware of it, and I noted after that how many times you see 4 guys, even the professionals. How many times in the 60s you'll look out there and you'll see 4 black guys on the floor at one time. 3 was a limit, but every time you saw 4, you thought, well, what's going on?
Interesting.
This has changed.
Huh. Yeah, wow, I can't even imagine. What's it like for you, and what kind of an honor is it for you to be in the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame and the Wall of Fame?
Well, it is. I remember, not Frank Sam. Who was it that the sports announcer after Frank Sam? Anyway, I was about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he said, "How do you feel about this, Ira?" I said, "Oh, I'm ecstatic. I'm elated. I don't know what to do." And he says, "What did he say?" Just words that came out. But I was ecstatic, elated, just surprised, and pleased, very pleased. Never thought that this little guy, little skinny kid from Detroit, the east side of Detroit, would ever be honored for anything. My expectations of growing up was to have 2 or 3 kids, work with one of the General Motors, Chrysler, or Dodge, Chevrolet in Detroit, and hopefully had a decent living. That was my expectations. I never got to do any of those things. I had the kids, but I never got to work for Chevy, Chrysler, Ford, or Dodge. I still worked for Ford for 33 years, but I never thought I'd exceed my expectations. I thought I'd be there walking around the streets of Detroit as an old man, which I am now, as that was my expectation. That was my life expectancy. One other quick thing is all the guys, except for there are 3 or 4 guys that I played with in high school that are still alive. There's one guy, if you were a student, Reggie Harding.
I remember Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie Harding was a 7'1" guy. And there was another guy, Ben McGillery, who I played against in high school. They were 7-footers. And these guys are both dead. And all the other guys that I played with at the time, not all of them, but most of them, there are very few who are still alive. I still talk to Smokey Gaines, who I talked to him.
Coach of San Diego State?
Yeah, I remember him when he was the coach of San Diego State, actually.
Just last night. He's doing well. He had a stroke, but he's doing much better. I talked to him last night, and every time we talk about the old things that we used to do as kids. I never thought I'd be where I am now.
Finally, for me, as we have a minute or so left, having Ira Jr. winning back-to-back, how much pressure are you putting on him to win the 3rd straight?
Well,
He's laughing in the background, I guess.
He's got a big ear-to-ear grin.
He already had someone, I guess, at the banquet saying, hey, three-peat, so the pressure's already on. But how much does Pops have to do with it?
I don't. I try to caution him. I tell him, you know, son, sometimes you have to know when enough is enough. Mm-hmm. You know, as I said about Bob King, you have so much success that the people up in Pecos, I'm sure, expect a third championship. However, that's going to be more difficult next year or next season than it was this year or the season before. Mm-hmm. Just making it to that point.
Final question?
Ira, it's like you said, the more you do, the more people expect, whether it's Coach Weir, Coach Ira Hards Jr., Coach Bill Duffy, that's just life. And I think your boy's in a good position. He's a great kid, a great young man, I should say, and he's been taught well. You can tell it's class act all the way. So it's great that they won two, that they hadn't won one in 51 years. And you would think people would say, hey, that's great. But you're right. People want more. And I think he's in a great position. I really do.
One of the things that the first year, it was 2 years ago now, when they won it, I heard one of the mothers say, and I just hope you stay here long enough until next year when my son is playing. And so that's the expectation, because she's saying that next year we're going to win again, but my son will be on the team.
Right.
And you'll be amazed at some of the things those folks up in Pecos say. You know, they're really proud of the team, the school, and consequently of my son. They're all very proud. And I told his wife, and I'll get this in, I know you're running short. I told his wife at the state tournament, I said, you know what? I said, the people in Pecos ought to be proud of you. She said, why is that? I said, because you married Ira, who came to Pecos and brought you to state championships. First one in, 51 years, I think it was then, or 52 years, 53 years.
That's right.
Well, Ira, go ahead.
I was going to say her name is Lisa Lujan Harge. But anyway.
I want to thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
What respect, Ira. What respect, man. Wow.
So, you know, keep up the good work. Keep up on your boys and enjoy it.
Well, work is a bad word now for me.
Well, yeah. Okay. Ira Hart Sr., our guest here, and we'll take a break and come back with more on the Sports Desk.
Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Carmody Medical provides solutions for your everyday needs. Hot and cold compression wraps provide therapeutic compression for the shoulder, hip, and knee. The therapy wraps are constructed of an insulated outer fabric and a ventilated cotton pocket to protect the body. Elastic belts allow mobility and deliver a gentle, adjustable compression. The reusable therapy packs can be removed from the pouch and placed into the freezer. Contact Jim for more information.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game. Hey, New Mexico, come check out the newly remodeled guest rooms of the new Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center, featuring 309 rooms, 30,000 square feet of meeting space. New Mexico's only indoor water park featuring the Wave Runner. 2,200 square foot fitness center with hydro massage chairs. Also enjoy breakfast at our new Manzanita Grill and watch your favorite team play at Altitude Sports Bar and Grill. It's all at Wyndham Albuquerque Hotel and Conference Center.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
The Cherry Silver Benefit Home Show, April 7th and 8th, benefiting the UNM Children's Hospital, Popejoy Hall, and Anderson School of Management. See exhibitors feature windows, doors, kitchen, bath, sunroom, stucco. The Cherry Silver Benefit Home Show at Dreamstyle Arena, The Pit.
Nothing completes a trip downtown like a visit to Lindy's Cafe. You won't find a more relaxing restaurant to unwind at. Located on 5th and Central, proud supporters of Proview Networks, Lindy's strives to be a friendly and welcoming place.
Lindy's, a great place to be seen.
I want to congratulate our first customers at our brand new facility right here at Gala Chevrolet, the Jose's. And how was your experience?
It was awesome and great.
What'd you end up buying?
We bought a 2018 Chevy Silverado.
And how would you say the experience was overall?
I bought all my cars here at Gala Chevrolet, and we couldn't wait for the new facility open, and all the people really treated us well.
Well, on behalf of Gala Chevrolet, we say thank you, and we'll see you soon right here at Gala Chevrolet.
And welcome back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti, joined by Ed Nunez as always. Alden Iowani, our fine director, and our thanks to Ira Hart Sr. for joining us here, former ABA star, ABL star also before that, and of course, star player for the University of New Mexico Lobos. And I'll tell you what, Ed, we could have talked to him for hours.
I had goosebumps on my back, man, honestly, because we don't have a lot of former NBA or ABA stars, and people, the young people will look at it like, what
was the ABA? Right.
ABA was a man's league. It was.
Yeah.
And then Ira Hards Jr. just said this now, that the most rebounds he ever had in a game, Ira Hards Sr., he led the ABA in rebounding. The most rebounds he ever had was 38. 38 in a game, 38. Now, Will Chamberlain holds the record with 55. That will never be touched, ever,
right.
Never. 55 in a game, think about it. But 38 rebounds, you know, and they talked about Rodman, the rebounders, you know, of today, and Rodman was an absolute brilliant rebounder, one of the best I ever saw. I don't care what game it is. And again, people are going to say, oh, well, who did he play against? Well, Dr. J, George McGinnis, Artis Gilmore, Dave Robish, Maurice Lucas. And if you know basketball, if you know the history, you know that those were, and plus the ejections. There's only 2 referees. There's not 3 referees, so there's a lot of action being missed.
That's a great point.
You know, you think about it. So
right.
when he's, you know what, he's such a class act, Mr. Harge, I'm talking about, as is his son, the whole family. So when you hear him talk about his nerve, what it got me, it almost made, when he said when his son was born and he was elated. Of course you are. I was elated when my son was born, too. And then he sees his son win 2 championships at Pecos. How elated was he? And he's still part of it. He's nervous. Yeah. He has butterflies. He's the dad, right? I remember when my son coached at Pius, there's not much I'm sitting right behind the bench, you know, but he's the coach. He's the one that runs the team. Of course, he always comes to me at the end of the night and asks me what I think, always. But I think there's an elation and a proud papa's moment as he was proud when his son was. You saw the emotion from him when his son was born.
Well, I mean, he was known. I mean, everyone that talks to me about Ira Hart Sr., he had nerves of steel. And I saw him last year before Pecos won their first title in many, many years, over 50-plus years. And, you know, he was a nervous wreck because he was nervous for his son. And then he was elated after the game and pumping his fist and everything. Hey, we did it. And then this year, obviously, the same reactions. He was equally as nervous, even though it was a second straight championship. And, you know, it's kind of neat to see because it was raw, just enthusiasm, raw nervousness and everything else for a father for his son.
That's the best way to describe it. His raw. I told you, there was times when my son played at Pius, I was so nervous I couldn't even look. So yes, raw emotion, raw energy, raw nervousness, call what you want. I love the story about Rick Barry. And here's the thing. Think about what he said about Rick Barry. Hall of Famer Rick Barry, one of the best small forwards that ever played. People, you know, you remember that. He's the guy that shot underhand free throws, 90%. 90%, still the highest free throw average that there ever was. But if you think about it,
rarely hit anything, let alone make it. I mean, it was always nothing but net.
Nothing but twine. So if you think about it, he even said he had some problems or issues with Barry being selfish. But when it came to the teammates picking on him, who's there to stop him? So he was. So if you're going to fight my guy, you're going to fight me. So you get the idea that he's definitely the enforcer on whatever. He's the guy getting all the blood, you know, on his shirt with the rebounding and fights. So think about it. He's the enforcer on any team that he plays. He's the guy that they look to for protection.
Well, the numbers are very interesting because, like I said and asked him, he averaged a double-double his last 2 years in college, and that was before that was a glamorous stat. I mean, he was a double-double guy a game. And like you said, he had over 30 was his high. You know, this guy was a rebounding machine. But back in those days, scoring was more important.
No doubt, no doubt. And I think
or at least that was more publicized. I don't know about more important, but that's what was publicized.
I think one of the interesting things he said, too, and it really made me think about it, he's a very intelligent, I bet he had a high IQ on the court as well. Right. But when he said that the multicolored ball was easier to rebound with, that really made me think.
I never thought
of
that.
It made me think about that.
And I used to play with the multicolored ball in street games, and, you know, we used to have pickup games and stuff, and we used to love that colored ball, but we never thought of it as, oh, it's easier to see. I never thought of that.
Right. So when he said that, and this is a guy that would know rebounding positions, where the rebound's coming off, where the shot's taken. He knew all the intricacies of a rebounder because he led the ABA in rebounding, 14.5 one season. That's not easy to do. So just amazed and fascinated by the things he told us, especially, I think, the memory, because I read about it. I was too young when they came back from the NIT in '63, when they lost to Bradley in New York. His memory and his recollection of that was amazing to me. You know, the dust storm and going to Yale and going to Johnson Gym. And really, if you think about it, that's the birth of Lobo basketball. As far because remember, they crowd themselves out of Johnson Gym. They had to build a pit. So Bob King, the architect. You know, Bob King built with the program, and look where it's at today. And again, you know, it's a couple of, you know, there was some disappointment last year, but now all of a sudden, Coach Weir's going to see, and I love Coach Weir. You do too. He's a great guy, man. Great guy. But now people, you know, they didn't expect much. They overachieved more than any Lobo team that I've seen in a long time. I'm talking about this year's Lobos. Right. So next year, you know, they already had a great article in the paper about the transfer from Ohio State, from Connecticut. People read that, including myself, and you're thinking, shoot, where are we going to be next year? You know, you're already thinking of the possibilities. And like Ira Hart Sr. said, the more you do for people, the more they expect, no matter if it's here or if it's at Pecos, if it's in Las Vegas or Espanola. That's the way life is.
Well, here's the interesting thing, and it gets me because in most places with coaches, you know, different sport, you look at football, they go by your record. Here, in terms of judging coaches, here, Paul Ware, I guess he gets a pass because he had to develop a lot of players that he didn't plan on bringing in. He had a new bunch of players that he had to bring in. Overall record was identical to last year. The only difference was 2 games in conference. And last year, Colorado State had a better team, so they had a better record in conference to beat them out in the seedings.
Right. Right.
But the identical record, and you would think that they won the league this year, and you would think that,
very interesting.
You know, you would, by the way the fans are going, you would think this team. And I think part of that, Ed, is because they overachieved. There wasn't a lot of expectations. Now, having said that, I think, to me, the biggest concern about this Lobo team coming up next year is you got to reinvent the wheel, because even though there's two guys in particular, and I remember I was there when Drew Gordon was there, and he was arguably the best player on the court during practice, but he wasn't eligible. You got two guys who I've been told kind of similar story, where they're both very, very good, and they're going to be the best players on a team, but you got to develop those players, and basically you got to get that chemistry back, because it's not going to be the same team next year. To me, that's going to be the biggest challenge that not a lot of people are talking about, but I do know that Coach Weir knows he has that challenge.
I think one of the things, and it's an important point that you bring up, one of the guys, you lose Stinger, who only played his heart out and overachieved with the talent that he had.
He was the epitome of overachieving.
Oh, my goodness.
And working hard.
Look at the weight work he put in, the weight work. Dana Childs showed me on a film. He really put the weight work in. Sam Lobwood, after sitting out a couple of games, he found his love again for the game and really came out and
it showed.
Well.
It showed.
It really did. So Antono Jackson, who was, it's an underrated transfer senior. He really stabilized the Lobos. I think of the points you make, and it's a very important one, is the chemistry this year. They didn't make the tournament, and if they had, it would have been one and done. I'm sure of it. Still, you could have said, hey, we made the tournament.
Right.
Look, the recruiting, it would have helped recruiting. But chemistry is true. It's very true. So the other thing is this. Now, and I've been around the game, so a million thoughts come to my mind. The chemistry you had was unselfishness from this Lobo team. No one thought that they were the star.
And that's what you got to develop when you got high star players. Some of that selfishness, and maybe it's not selfishness, maybe it's more, hey, I know what I got and no one else on this team has, so maybe it's selfishness, maybe it's cockiness, maybe it's confidence, but Coach Weir, and I heard him on with Bob Brown recently saying that, hey, we're going to still, go through the same process. Those who want to put in the effort and do everything that we did this year, those are the guys that we're going to keep. Otherwise, it's the same motto as the beginning of this year, but it's going to be different because you got to mold those guys who may have a little selfishness in them.
Right. You got what he's done, what he did a great job of doing. And you know what? You've seen him.
Because he really didn't have selfish guys this year.
No. You broadcast a million games, so you've seen a game, you've seen a feel, you've been there. So I think the other thing is this, is that he checked those egos. He did. Now, Sam Lobwood started, kind of saying, hey, I'm a senior, I want things my way. And Coach Weir said, he's got a shoulder. Now
that's a good point.
We're going to sit you're either with this program or you're not. Because no one is, he did an amazing job.
No one's bigger than the program.
And you know what? He sat him down 6 games for that.
Yeah.
And I think the thing, and Bob Brown said this, Bob Brown and I talked about this, was that he found that his team was winning without him. Nothing, it bruises your ego worse. Right. When you're the senior player, you're supposed to be the star. You're a 3-year letterman. You've been leading scorer. You're the best player, the best athlete. And you're seeing this team, and you're thinking, hey, they're a bunch of transfers. They don't need me.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you get that hunger back. And I thought Coach Weir just did. Remember, this is he did an amazing job of for things not. They started out 3-8. Look where they finished. Yeah, you're right. They have the same record as they did last year, but it's a different feel. You've got Weir in for Coach Neal. All respect to Coach Neal. Weir's a better fit right now. I mean, right now. You've got Eddie Nunez in for Paul Krebs. I think it's a better feel about where the program and the athletic department is going as a whole. We'll have to see where that ends up. But right now, I think people feel pretty good about how things are going.
And I think also people feel, as we got about a minute and a half to go here, is that the recruiting class that Coach Weir has is a really good one. Time will tell how good it is, but I mean, he's got the bigger kind of horses, as Ira Hard Sr. was talking about.
You know what? He does, and that's why people are ready. It used to be bad around here with Lobo football. If they lost 2 games, people were, when does basketball start? Now, I'm the kind of guy that, I see Coach McGee, the new offensive coordinator for the football team, and I'm really excited about that.
Right.
But people are already buzzing. I heard in the restaurant the other night, what I heard? I was at Saggio's, and some guy says, well, we'll see how long we keep Coach Weir. That's what he said. And I'm like, and so that's what people are thinking. That's what people are thinking, and hopefully it's for a very long time. But remember, this is a young man that has 3 degrees.
Right.
I don't look at basketball just defining Coach Weir. I could see him being ahead of, an academic institution or something else. We hope he's here for a very long time.
Well, Ed, good job today. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. You'll be manning the fort next week.
Yes, sir. We'll miss you, but we'll try to get the job done.
He's Ed Nunez. Our thanks to Alden Iowani, and our thanks to Ira Hart Sr. for being our guest here today, former NBA star and UNM star. For Ed Nunez, I'm Scott Coletti. We'll see you next time on the Sports Desk.